Did you know that Arma Reforger will be getting destructible environments? Yeah, and it's not just going to be limited to buildings, but also trees. This is just one of the many new features that the Reforger team is developing, and although destruction and mortars have already been included in the experimental branch of the game, which is hopefully releasing to the live game next month in February, project lead and lead programmer for Arma Reforger, Klamath, held a Reddit AMA to answer the community's questions. It's no secret that the game has absolutely exploded with the recent PlayStation 5 release, but whether you're on PC or on console, this AMA had some really exciting information in it, especially when you consider that the roadmap itself is nearly complete. Just a handful of items left, like power grids, base building, and command roles, are still in development, so let's check out this AMA and see what the devs themselves have to say. The first question asks that since Arma 4 is nearly 3 years away and the roadmap is almost finished, will there be any additional content not included in the roadmap for Reforger besides Kolgiev? And I think I need to give this a bit of context here. Something that may have been missed by players is that Reforger isn't just developing items on their public roadmap. A roadmap is of course a great way to show the community features that are planned and intended for the game as well as their current status. But game development is tricky. Some things get canceled, some things get delayed, and honestly, it's just nice to surprise people sometimes by dropping an update nobody saw coming. In this AMA alone, Klamath does admit that there's almost 800 canceled line items in the development of Reforger so far. Well, just a few days ago, the devs have confirmed in a tweet that they are working on not just completing the roadmap, but developing features beyond the roadmap on the way to Arma 4. So they definitely have a few tricks up their sleeves. Now, the original question asked about Kolgiev, which is an older Arma map from the original Cold War Assault game, and it was confirmed by the devs to be in development in late 2024. Although we just have the concept art at the moment, we can simply take a look at a map like Everon or Arland and know that it's going to look far better than this original one. But Klamath does confirm that there is additional content outside of the roadmap, but doesn't want to spoil the surprises. However, he does tease a few things, including 2 new rocket launchers. This does give us a nice hint since these could very well be the AT-4 and RPG-26. The AT-4 was originally released in 1987, while the RPG-26 was released in 1985, with both of these fitting the timeline for Reforger since the game is set in 1989. The AT-4 has a couple of different loadouts like heat, high explosive dual purpose, or simply high explosive for anti-infantry use, and could potentially fill the role that the standard RPG-7 does for the Soviets, while the RPG-26 would give Red 4 a nice lightweight disposable AT option, not unlike the US's Law. For vehicles, however, the BRDM and LAV-25 are already included on the experimental branch and are looking great. Although there are no boats, which Klamath does confirm here, he does state that there is a secret new feature related to non-existent boats, which he doesn't want to spoil. Now, this could be a tinfoil hat theory, but the only thing that I can think of is that he may be hinting that amphibious capabilities will be added in the future. Both of these vehicles are actually amphibious in the real world, and in games like Squad, you can frequently use them in rivers and coastlines, so that's really my guess on this one. If so, a proper amphibious vehicle will make a great foundation for modders to implement patrol boats and other watercraft in the future. He did also mention that there will be a few more vehicles coming out this year, with some players suggesting things like the Trabant 601, a 2-door car which was also included in the original Cold War Assault game, as well as the Praga V3S, a Czechoslovakian transport truck, but once again, these are simply community guesses. However, what has been confirmed is that night vision is not being planned, with Klamath suggesting that if you do want to use night vision, then feel free to use mods. I've had quite a few conversations with players regarding night vision, and the main concern I've seen is that leaving night vision development up to modders means that it will always be modded content, and it will never have the QA passes and proper development with the resources that a real dev team has. Now, that's not saying that the current modded night vision is bad, or it's broken, or buggy, or whatever, since honestly I have really enjoyed using the NVGs on the modern modded servers, but in general it would be really nice if at the very least there was some form of night vision that was made by Bohemia, even if it wasn't included in the base official Reforger game modes. For example, if there was something developed that was accessible only in the modding tools so modders had something to work off, it will help standardize the modded experience and therefore give a nice baseline for for NVGs. But one important piece to come out of this night vision talk is that for all you PlayStation players out there, the devs are working to help improve your nighttime visibility. For whatever reason, night is very, very dark on PlayStation 5 compared to other platforms. And although there is a temporary workaround by disabling HDR, players are still having problems just simply seeing. And a lot of the time they just either wait at the main base and AFK until daylight, which just kind of sucks, or they're forced to use flashlights, which just makes them easier targets for players on other platforms who can see at night. Klamath did say that things like the grenade launcher flares, which are in the game now, and the future hand-fired rocket flares will be options for players during nighttime. If we go on the experimental branch, we can also see how mortar flares are working right now, and they do seem pretty effective, and the devs are also aware of gamma cheesing, where you can adjust your gamma on the fly while in-game in order to have normal gamma during the day, but high gamma at night to improve visibility. Taking all this into consideration, the devs still agree that PlayStation 5 Night is not good. It's broken, it's bugged, there's something going on, and they are going to fix it. So in the meantime, you might just have to adjust your TV's brightness, but yes, the devs are aware and they're trying to fix it. Now, one last PlayStation related question though is, are they getting mod support? Yes, it is confirmed, modding should be coming to PlayStation 5 soon. Work is in progress, and the dev team's discussion with Sony has been positive. So although we don't have a date, it does seem like it's coming relatively soon. Now, speaking of mods, as I was editing this video, the devs announced the Make Arma Not War 2025 modding competition, where modders can submit their projects and, if they're good enough, have the potential to win real money. The devs are offering over $100,000 in prize money in categories like weapon or vehicle assets, game modes and maps, or even backend server scripts. This is not a sponsored plug. I'm not being paid by the devs or even told by the devs to include this or promote this at all. I just thought this would be really awesome for you guys out there in the community to learn about, since so much of Arma is development and modding work. And if you are interested in just learning how to mod in Arma, the devs did state they're going to be running boot camps, so that way you guys can learn in Fusion. All right, now back to the AMA. Another question players have when it comes to Arma is support for peripherals like steering wheels, gaming pedals, or HOTAS joysticks. Although pilots of course love the option to zip around the map on something other than a mouse and keyboard, let's not all ignore our military truck driving simulator fans out there. However, unfortunately, this is not a top priority at the moment. I'm not too surprised to hear this, since currently everything is designed not just for mouse and keyboard, but also Xbox and PlayStation gamepad controllers. So realistically, there's kind of like 3 different options to drive, fly, or move around. In the long list of things that the devs are working on their way to Arma 4 being released in 2027, it seems like things like HOTAS and steering wheels are very far, if not completely off the list. But I would be very surprised if we didn't hear about it when Arma 4 does release. Now, at the start of the video, I did showcase a bit of the new destruction system, and Klamath elaborated a bit more when asked what the vision or direction would be for environmental destruction. He says that building destruction is implemented in 1.3 experimental as its first public release. It's supposed to get us back to Arma standard with sound and particle effects, and any additions to it depend on your feedback and our resources. We have already planned more work on some improvements to how destroyed environment looks like. I like the suggestions for buildings on fire and craters, and some of this can be modded, but eventually, maybe. I like at the end where he just says maybe. Yeah, that's cool. Maybe. I like that suggestion. Maybe. Realistically, yeah, it's all just kind of maybe, but looking at this in the experimental branch, you do see simply impact marks from mortars on roads, but not a giant crater or any real terrain deformation. Each building, when it is hit, does appear to have a simple standing or destroyed state with an animation that plays when taking the right amount of damage. And I do think burning rubble would be cool, stages of destruction would also be cool, but there's really nothing in this answer that suggests we will get modular destruction. Later on in the AMA, Klamath does state that this type of modular destruction, which they call advanced building destruction, will not be included in Reforger, but that doesn't rule it out for Arma 4. I do think they're moving in the right direction with this, but after playing around with the Game Master mortar call-ins, it really feels like 1 or 2 competent mortar people, not even a mortar team, could essentially level an entire town given just a little bit of ammo and accurate coordinates. I think it's a good start to destruction, but really what they have right now may get frustrating in the real games if this is all the type of destruction we're going to get for the next 2 years. Give the game like 30 minutes and everything will be obliterated and flattened on the map. Additionally, with so many players coming in from games like Squad or Hell Let Loose, a question that I've been asked quite a bit as well is, will there be suppression? Well, the short answer is no, and the longer answer is no. Get immersed. Notice your life matters. Save it. Run away. Hide. Cover. Listen. React. You don't need screen blurs and discoloration. Survive. I absolutely love this answer, and it's just reassuring hearing from the devs that they have a vision for how their gunplay is, and they are sticking to it. If you were to compare Squad and Reforger, Squad having suppression makes sense since it's relatively easy to get revived and healed when compared to Reforger. In Squad, there's no real downside to peeking your head out since you can just get bandaged and you're good to go, whereas Reforger, you can get killed instantly or be knocked unconscious for a minute or two, and you could even just bleed out. Now, speaking of medical systems, a question here asked, do you guys have in mind to put scissors and pliers to medical stuff so we can really put the hurry in field surgery? The answer? Ace Medical, that's for you guys. Now, if you're new to Arma or just don't know, Ace Medical is a mod which has an incredibly detailed medical system, and it creates an injury and treatment system that you would get more like the real world. With Ace Medical, you can actually play as a combat medic with incredible detail, and I know some people that love this stuff, but to me, that just gets a bit cumbersome. The current stuff that they have, like tourniquets, bandages, morphine, that is just immersive enough, and it's just slow enough to really keep you in the fight and worry about your own safety. So it's nice to see that we're not getting too detailed with future medical stuff. Now, when it comes to game modes, I'm sure everyone is familiar with Conflict, which is not only the most popular official server game mode, but it's also the main game mode on modded servers. But in addition to the large-scale Conflict, the devs have actually released a smaller, more condensed version of Conflict on the 1.3 experimental branch. On the Montagnac Conflict, for example, instead of having the huge island, you really just fight over the city of Montagnac, and it's a lot smaller scale and probably a bit better if you just want focused infantry fighting. The devs also stated they are looking to reintroduce capture and hold scenarios, which are quote-unquote smaller, less complex, and more fun with time limits and selectable loadouts, and is more or less like Battlefield's Conquest game mode. For players who are looking for something completely different like Squad's Advanced and Secure, however, you'll have to head to the modding workshop. Now, to wrap the AMA up, here's a few other questions that some of y'all may be interested in. Gore is not intended and will not be developed. Fixed wing aircraft is not planned for Reforger, but the dev team understands the importance of fast movers for combat simulation, so do expect to see jets in Arma 4. The devs are working to increase official server capacity from 64 players, despite modded servers being up to 128 right now. And lastly, when Arma 4 does release, unsurprisingly, Reforger will take a backseat in development. We don't know for sure if it'll just cease to exist or they'll try to transition people from Reforger to 4, but Arma 4 will take priority. Overall, this was a great AMA, and if you do want to take a peek at everything line by line, I've included a link down in the description below. The devs have been super active on Reddit, Discord, and posting on X, so I wouldn't even be surprised if random questions that you ask on there will get answered. They're a very involved development team, and they love talking with their community. But that's about it. What do you guys think about this AMA? Is there anything that wasn't asked that you're still questioning? Are you happy with the speed of development? Or are you just patiently waiting to download a terabyte of mods on your PlayStation 5? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.